Hello YouTube, welcome to this series of videos that I am making for the Vikingr mod for Mountain Blade Warband. Basically this mod, as you can guess from the name, is a Viking based mod. There are several new factions, several new maps, several new features, and there's a bunch of stuff that we're going to get into. So without further ado, let's get started. You can see that there aren't really any single player or custom battle options. There's only multiplayer so far for Vikingr. And let's start out with looking at the character creation. So let's just let's create a new character here. And you can see that they have added indeed some new face textures. There are only two new face textures, this one, and you have this one without the eye, which is kind of cool. So yeah, and then you have the regular skins, and I believe all the hair is also the same, all the beards are the same, and all the usual stuff that you'd find in native. The banners are, I've got the banner pack installed, so I don't know if they've added any different banners or not. Basically you can, let me just go ahead and delete this guy real quick, and let's delete that guy again. So yeah, this is my person that I play with. His name is Jarl, and you can join a fight and start a fight. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to start a fight and show you guys the different types of game modes. The different maps that we have and the different factions. So let's start out with the Saxons and the Vikings. We'll set the game mode to, you can see that there is a raid game mode, which is new, but we'll see and talk about that later. So just set it to deathmatch and pick the home gang map. So here you can see that let's just spectate the map a little bit, show you the map bit by bit. You can pretty much see that this map is composed, it's not really that big. You can see the borders there, and it's basically, you've got what looks to be 3 islands. You've got a boat there that I believe will move if you get on it. Let's check real quick. No, it's stationary. So yeah, this is one of the map. And notice what they have done with the color effects and the lighting. It's really beautiful. They're using the polished landscapes add-on, but I think they've also played a little bit with the light and particle effects, because look how glorious that looks. Pretty good stuff. Let's showcase the two factions that we have. And before we do that, you can see that they've added things like expel instead of kick, banish instead of ban, silence, and flee. They've added a little bit of nice little fine detail touches. So let's start with the Vikingr faction. You can be four different troop types, and one of the features of Vikingr is that you get troop limiter. So if there are too many archers on one team, you won't be able to go an archer. So let's go with this Boyskyter, and I think this is an archer, yeah. You get a hunting bow and a short bow. You get a selection of weapons and a short weapon. You get some axes, you get a torch, a spear. You can get a two-handed axe, and you've got really basic padded cloth armor and some basic helmets, and you can choose your shoe colors. The other troop would be the Herzer, and this is I think the Huskarl. Yep. You got some. Of course, we'll showcase. I'm gonna showcase these different armors when I play the different classes. I'm gonna do five rounds of each class, just like I do with regular Warband. So there's a very good and very wide selection of items to pick from, and there are also some bonus some nice interesting items you can use and get some bonuses. We'll talk about that later. And then you get the Berserker. This is my favorite class for Vikingr. And you get things like two-handed axes and basically very shock, very strong unit. And you get a Francisca. And the final thing is the Chieftain. Now each faction can have one Chieftain, if I remember correctly, at a time, or Earl, or depending on what your faction is. What this guy does is he's allowed a horn, and I think he can. Yeah, he's allowed a horn and special equipment just for the Chieftain. Well, some of them, at least. So that's pretty much it for the Vikingr. Now let's do the Saxons. What did I pick? Let's see. Yeah, Saxons have the Kjorl, who is an archer, and you've got a fair good selection of equipment here. One thing to add about archery and throwing weapons is that they have completely removed the aiming reticle, so you don't have that aid anymore. The next troop is the Thagan. I think that's like a skirmisher, if I recall. And basic stuff. You can carry a banner, and what banners do is they actually give a bonus, a damage bonus, to surrounding units. So if there's a banner or a flag bearer in the vicinity, you get a little bonus, and I'll also showcase that when I do the 5 rounds. I like the Saxon equipment the most. I think it's the most well done. You of course have the Huskarl, with what you'd expect him to have, and a good selection of armors as well. And finally, you have the Earl, which fits best with my character, Jarl. And you get the best armor you can get, and I think the best quality axes, if I remember correctly. But I'm not sure on that. So that was the Saxons and the Vikingr. So now let's change the map to Stamford Bridge. I'm gonna pick the Normans versus the 4th faction, which is the Kievan Rus, who are the Russians. Now let's go ahead and start that up. Yeah, this map is beautiful. Basically, this map is each team spawns on one side, and then there's a huge epic confrontation here happening on the bridge. And this is what I'm talking about when I say lighting. Like, look how well the shadows, how the tree shadows are, and look how well the fog effects are. I really do like it. But anyway, let's take a look at the Normans. You have the Sergeant, or the Sergeant, and basically an armored sergeant, as you might have guessed, who you can get a self bow, a short bow, a crossbow, and you're only allowed one set of arrows or bolts in this mod, with 20 bolts or arrows each, and you don't have a reticle, so you gotta be really modest with your arrows. You got a Miles, who I think is like an dismounted cavalry. I might be wrong. You got the kite shields, and you've got the throwing weapons. And I personally like Normans a lot too. All the factions have their own, perks, you could say. They have the hauberks, and you also have the Conroy, and that would be the horse. And the Norman cavalrymen were actually the predecessors to the medieval lance, holding it below your armpit or underneath your armpit and bracing it. The Normans actually rode up in cavalry towards enemy lines, and they used throwing spears. They chucked them over the shields, and then they eventually developed their own methodology of riding with the spear on the side. They'd hit the enemy, and then they'd throw the spear, and then they'd run back. But then eventually they transitioned from being skirmish cavalry to heavy cavalry, but I don't want to turn this into a history lesson. They pretty much share the same armors as the foot units, and I think they have a couple of extra helmets. And finally you have the Count, who I think gets special helmets and also can ride a horse. So that's for the Normans, and the final faction is the Kievan Rus, who are the Russians, you could say. The Russian archer, you get short bows, Rus bows, very simple, very light equipment in terms of their archers. Not too good of a armor selection, but they do make up for it in their Druzhna and their boyar sons. The Druzhna have some crazy shields, really good shields, and they have a scimitar, which is quite long, 105. I think it's the longest reaching sword in the game. They also can get Dane axes, and they've got some really, really, really good armor. And the same can be said for their cavalry, the boyar sons. They get a good selection of horses, nice colors. They also get a good armor selection, good helmet selection. They can take spears, they can take axes, and they can take torches just for fun. So, looks like I spawned there by mistake. Let's go ahead and change the map to the Battle of Hastings, and just to showcase what we can get. I do remember that I was able to get an extra faction somehow. Maybe I'm mistaken. I'm gonna make a separate video for all the maps, just snapshots, and to show you guys what the maps are like. And I'm gonna follow that up with some actual gameplay for different units. But yeah, first impressions on the mod is that it's pretty well done. I like the textures. I like the authenticity of the work, and if anything, I would just like them to see. I would like to see them expand into a full-fledged total conversion in the future. Anyway, thanks for watching, and look out for the next video review, which is going to be about the maps, and then some actual combat to come in the future. Thanks for watching.